Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Martin Dreyfus Show. Welcome back to our continued coverage of the Russian-Ukraine crisis. The last time we spoke, Russia and Ukrainian delegates agreed to let civilians evacuate the city before commencing war. Now that we're back, those agreements have gone out the window. Poor communication, lies at the table. We're about to find out right now.
Good evening and thanks for watching. Tonight, Russian forces are intensifying airstrikes and the shelling of cities across Ukraine. Their targets reportedly include civilians. Today, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said Russia's actions could constitute a war crime. This video in the city of Irpin, just west of the capital of Kyiv, where people ran for their lives to escape.
Just civilians running down the street? Or just shooting civilians running down the street? Is that not Nazi-like? Listen, I at first wanted to stay away from the Nazi comparisons. Being Jewish, having family from that time who literally came from Poland, and some who survived concentration camps, and some who died, I was like, let's not take it there yet. It's not the same. But we're shooting civilians running down the street. The videos of people lining up at trains, man, those comparisons are becoming more and more relevant and correct.
Escape attacks. Mortar fire also claimed the lives of a mother and two children. Today, Ukraine's president urging resistance with Russian forces closing in on Kyiv. This airport near the city up in flames. And in Russia, new anti-war protests and crackdowns. More than 4,600 people arrested in over 60 cities.
We're going to do more videos on these protests and what it means, as well as some comparisons I'd like to draw. But, man,
And tonight, more sanctions targeting Russia from global corporate giants. Our coverage tonight begins with CBS's Charlie D'Agata in Kyiv.
There is no escape.
Man, to be a reporter, which is something I want to do, I want to be a journalist. Now, I don't know exactly what role I will fall in as time progresses, but to be sitting in Kyiv right now is one of the most respectable, heroic, terrifying things to be doing as a reporter right now. Look how close he is to that.
From Mariupol. The temporary ceasefire that should have allowed the safe evacuation of as many as 200,000 residents was shattered by renewed shelling for the second day in a row, both sides blaming each other for opening fire. The southern port city has been the target of a sustained and merciless Russian bombardment for days.
Mariupol is, been pretty tarnished. We've seen photos of apartment buildings blown in half. We're seeing footage right now. And the ceasefire seemed like a nice step. All right, we'll let the militaries fight it out. It's going to have to be what it's going to be, but we can get civilians out. From the headlines I've read, it seems like Russia is to blame. However, we're going to watch more videos to actually determine that beyond the headlines. As of now, who really broke it? I'm not sure. My initial hypothesis is it's hard for that word to spread fast enough and for everyone to be on the same page. And what time did that exactly take place? So, did you already break it, or was that before the time? And it becomes very gray and muddled. So that agreement was a great plan, but the execution was terrible.
The city's hospital can't keep up with the amount of civilian casualties. A young man rushes into the emergency room, cradling his 18-month-old son, injured in shelling. Emergency teams do everything they can, but the little boy can't be saved.
18 months. A year and a half ago, they were living a normal life. He was figuring out how to provide for his new kid and his new family and his wife. I assume his wife. And, man, that's
His mother breaks down in tears and disbelief, almost collapsing in grief. and then kisses her child goodbye. Russia's offensive has gathered pace, advancing ever closer to the capital itself. Residents are digging in and preparing for the worst. Volunteers provide hot drinks and stew. Last week, 25-year-old Stanislav was a drummer. Now he's making Molotov cocktails.
What help do you want from America? Or
from America,
other
we need
countries?
shotguns, actually, from them, and people, the army here.
You want weapons?
Yes.
You see barricades like this all over the city. They're very basic, just railroad ties, old tires, some fencing, anything to provide some defense.
And look at this.
I mean, it all takes time to move. It's old school, but it works. You blow up a bridge, a tank can't drive across it. You set up enough barricade, it takes, 12 people, 15 minutes to move it, but you're going to be there with guns. I mean, it gives you, like in video games, if you play like Halo or other first-person or third-person shooters, choke points, places where the battle's going to meet. And being that it's your city, you'll be prepared. You'll know where they have to come. That's the advantage. You got home turf, which is scary, but it is an advantage.
This line of men by the thousands who may have never raised a rifle, ready to fight. And here's why. This is Irpin, roughly 15 miles outside the capital. Incoming missiles send men, women, and children scrambling to get away, even as explosions ring out.
Charlie.
You're tired, but there's no stopping, dude, and that's heartbreaking. If you stop, you're done. Boom, dead. Could be a bullet, could be a missile, you don't know. And you have kids, you have a wife, as a man, your job is to make sure you get them there safe. You can't just run. You can't leave them. There's no going behind. And it's survival. It is pure survival. And what this does to a human being and their brains, even if they survive, is devastating in the long term. And if they survive is the most devastating part of it all.
D'Agata once again showing us the harsh realities of war. Charlie, going back to Mariupol, a ceasefire collapsed 2 days in a row. Is another attempt even possible?
Jerika, you have to hope so, because the ceasefire has been agreed upon. It has been for the past couple of days, and a humanitarian corridor. They're just not adhering to it. One sign of hope, there are peace talks that are going to be taking place between Ukrainian and Russian delegations tomorrow.
And Charlie,
they seem to be constantly having peace talks, but we will see if that ceasefire ever takes place. There's only a certain level of control there, and either the soldiers stop firing or they don't. Delegation can only go so far. Action is actually needed, but we'll do further research to determine, who's really at fault here. I'm guessing we all know the answer to that.